So, guys, welcome to THN's Road to Fright Fest. We are here talking about The Haunting at Jack the Ripper's house. It is screening at Fright Fest as part of the First Blood strand, which is this, specially curated programming within the wider festival. How do you feel, first of all, about being included in the strand and then about the screening itself?
Yeah, well, we're well chuffed, aren't we, Tasha? We
Definitely, yeah.
we did always talk about this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Prior, we always thought, could we get into Fright Fest? And it would be amazing, good achievement for us to do it on our first movie. And we were really happy, weren't we? Like really happy.
Yeah.
So we've been to Fright Fest before, haven't we? You've been a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
I think. And
I
I,
went last year for Cinderella's Curse.
what was it last year, that one? So
Yeah.
I went, I think it was 2022 for a movie I was in called Croc, which was amazing. So I got a feel for Fright Fest then, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if we went? And yeah, we're so happy. We're so happy, aren't we?
Yeah. From the start, I was like, okay, Fright Fest, we need to go. And Steve was like, okay, let's just lower those expectations. And I was like, no, Fright Fest, I want it. I want Fright Fest. And yeah, we got it and we're like super happy. We were like screaming at the time when we found out. So yeah, very excited.
It was a good win because we put a lot of effort into this, like a lot of
Yeah.
effort, especially in post-production, didn't we? But even pre-production, obviously, writing the film took ages. I don't think I'll be doing that again. But but yeah, um, yeah, it was a fascinating experience for us both. Obviously, being our first movie. Um, so yeah, we enjoyed it. We put a lot of effort into it, and we were chuffed that they chose us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for those that haven't done their homework yet, how have you been pitching the film to people?
Do you want to go, Chuck?
Um, so the way that we've kind of been we kind of want as many eyes to see the film as possible, obviously, because like Steve says, we are massively proud of it. Like I know for me, like I'm insanely proud of it. We put literally everything we had in every area of our lives, we put into this film. So yeah, we're massively proud of it. And the way we're kind of explaining it to people, like what's it called? On the
Well,
back of the film cover, it's called a blurb.
Yes.
Is it called a blurb? Okay, so I'll tell you the blurb. The blurb for this film is a group of investigators, haunted investigators, go to different areas and that are most likely to be haunted. Um, they start faking the things that they find. So they make up little scares and stuff for their YouTube followers. And they kind of quickly realize that the more they fake, the more like views it gets because it's like more outlandish and it's crazier. So they end up going viral and they become like really famous YouTubers. And they're in the midst of like maybe 50% of people completely believe them and 50% of people absolutely know it's fake, like it's ridiculously obvious. So they decide they want to go somewhere that's meant to be the most haunted place on the earth, which is Jack the Ripper's manor. And yeah, that's where things start to take a turn.
now, interestingly as well, they do visit a genuinely haunted place at the start of the film,
Yeah.
which does ghost tours. It's an abbey based. I think it's down south. It's above London, but it's. Do you remember where it was? It was around.
It's Lincolnshire, I
Yeah,
think.
that's it. Yeah, yeah. So there was an abbey down there that was genuinely haunted. So that was a good experience, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of the fans of the influencers, like Tasha said, some people um, know it's fake, but other people just enjoy the entertainment. So it's whatever it's trying to, I guess, stay close to modern um, influencers, on social media and stuff, and what
Yeah.
could happen. I don't think. I'm sure similar things has probably happened online, but I don't really go online much, so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. But
There
yeah,
is a famous channel. I obviously won't say the name of it here, but there was a famous like TV series that was like they went to look for ghosts or whatever, and they got found out to be fake. So it's kind of like that same sort of thing.
I think 10, 20 years ago, a protagonist in a horror film was often a writer or a journalist, but there does seem to be this shift towards influencers and YouTubers, being the main characters. Why do you guys think that, this change has happened, and what is it about these types of personalities that audiences find so fascinating?
I think for me it would be the connection. I think people can relate to obviously social media is just everywhere now. Obviously, when I grew up, it wasn't a thing, but now it's part of life, especially for young people. And I think that connection, people can relate to it. Could people believe it more? Is it possible that this could happen? Yeah, I think it is. Um, I mean, every people like horror films for different reasons. What we tried to do was make it as if it could be possible, a certain parts of the story anyway. And I think that's maybe why they do these things. Maybe for the connection. I don't know. But yeah, what do you think, Tash?
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's super relatable, like to the times that we're living in at the moment. I always say, like, I say this all the time, but like, attention is like the new currency. So it's like people will do anything to get views.
Mm.
The amount of things I've seen online, and like 99% of things are fake, and then 1% of them are massively outlandish and crazy. And like, people are always fighting to put the next craziest bit of content out there because attention is the new currency. So I feel like it's just a new thing that's kind of coming in and people are just getting to grips with. But yeah, we wanted it to be something that could actually happen, something that could actually be happening in the real world to people who fake stuff like that. And Steve, he's like a tough critic sometimes, I feel like. And every single scene, something would happen and he'd go, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That can't happen. That's not gonna happen in the real world. And I'd be like, right, okay. So we'd have to figure a way out to make things possible to happen in the real world. Um, so yeah, it's that's why, I guess.
That's true, yeah.
So, Steve, were you more of the Scully in this partnership?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, I don't want to say too much about the film, so obviously I don't want to give a spoiler away, but it's not all like that. But for the most part, the thing I found fascinating about this film was it's quite nice to have the ability to make a film, a horror movie that you would like to make. And that's what I found quite fascinating about this. So I was tempted to put some unusual things in this film, that I don't think we really did, but we might maybe do something. I don't know, like cliche stuff where people would be running and falling over and then getting caught by the horror killer or whatever. And but instead of that happening, they don't get killed, or there might be a conversation and someone just leaves the movie just randomly because do you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. I was so close to writing that into my storyline. I remember that day when I said, right, I'm just going to leave the house. I'm just going to walk out, just leave you all in there. But
Yeah.
I didn't do that in the end. But I think things like that fascinate me because often especially when I was younger, if I watched horror films, I just couldn't connect with them because I just thought they were so unrealistic.
Mm.
And I know there's a market for that, and I know there's a market for more realism. So for me personally, I want it to be at least believable to an extent. But sometimes unbelievable stuff is more interesting for the audience. So I guess it's trying to find the right balance, I guess.
Obviously, in addition to sort of co-writing and co-directing, you both also star in the film. Did you have your characters picked out as you were writing, or was it a later on thing that you were like, no, I want to get in front of the camera as well as behind?
Well,
Um,
do you want to go or do you want
now you go.
me? Well, originally, me and Tasha were the lead characters, weren't we? And obviously we were directing the film as well. And the amount of scenes me and you were in was just insane. And we
Yeah.
had to get to a point where we said, well, it's actually the assistant director said this. He said, we might have a problem here. If you two are directing it, you're nearly in every scene.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like this could be a problem. And I remember giving you a call and saying, like, one of us is going to have to take a back step from the lead role there. And I thought it was best for us that I did that, which is why I had that conversation with Tasha that I'm just going to leave the movie at some point, some random reason. So then we had to try and find a reason to get me out of the film. Um, so yeah, that did happen. Um, but yeah, I think it happened for the better anyway, because it gave me more time behind the camera, more
Yeah.
time in the monitor, making sure that the movie turned out how we imagined. Yeah, so it worked out well.
Yeah, I agree. And I personally wouldn't have changed a single thing from like the way we did it. It was like it was unheard of, but like nothing went wrong. Like I can't remember anything going wrong. Like obviously on movie sets, usually, especially with indie filmmaking, something goes wrong. Someone drops out, or a prop's broken, or there's no prop, or something's happened. There's always something that's happened, but I think we planned it so extensively. We planned every detail down to like what scenes people were wearing a GoPro, down to what scenes people took off their coats and stuff. Like we planned everything so extensively that nothing really went wrong. Um, and I wouldn't have changed anything because like the final product now that we've got, I'm like massively happy with. So I just think it was like perfect.
And you both, sort of outside of this film, you've both had, parts within the Twisted Childhood universe. What is it like, particularly obviously, Blood and Honey. What was it like kind of, being involved in that and seeing, because that was kind of what started it all, going
Yeah.
from kind of nothing to this global phenomenon.
Yeah, so I was like massively lucky because Blood and Honey was my first film that I ever did. So I one day, I one day was randomly like, okay, I'm gonna do some acting because I've got no friends and I want to make some. And my mum was like, okay, yeah, do it. So then I applied for Blood and Honey. They were like, can you self-tape? I was like, what's a self-tape? And then sent them a self-tape and they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And then obviously for me, my first ever film went massively viral. I went to a premiere in Mexico, then I went to one in Amsterdam. Then next minute I was in every film under the sun because everyone wanted me. So like that was my normal. So then
Mm.
after a while of like that being my normal, then I was like trying to transition to different films and stuff. I think I kind of understood it's not always so easy. Obviously, I knew that, but when you experience something that just happens, it's like I just thought that was the way it was, but then go trying to transition into other films or other like genres and stuff, I realized it isn't normally that easy. But we had no idea. I remember I was actually saying this to Steve this morning. I remember when I found out that Blood and Honey had gone viral and it was like my scene that went viral. I was like, oh no. Like I wasn't a good actor. I was like, I hate my scenes. I've done a bad job. I hate the way I sound. I hate the way I look. I hate myself. And I knew that people were going to see it. And I was like, this is the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me. Um, Obviously, it was the best. But at the time, I was like, I hate myself. And I picked everything apart because that was also the first time I'd ever seen myself in a film. And it was in the cinema in Mexico on a massive screen with fans outside. And I was like, I hate myself. There's a scene where I'm talking to the character Jess, so Natasha Mills, her character Jess, and I like pull a face and I've got loads of like wrinkles on my head because I have loads of lines like when I move my eyebrows. And I was like, oh my God, I hate it. I hate myself. Every scene, I was like, I found something I hated. So yeah, we had no idea, obviously, that it was going to go viral, but yeah, it's I can understand why because it's such an untapped market, and obviously Scott and Reese are making amazing films, so yeah, they deserve the success.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always danced around the childhood universe, if you want to say that, as in I've been in about 25 of Scott and Reese's films. Actually, when you did your Winnie-the-Pooh, I was with Scott on another movie set. They were producing two films at the same time, and they were producing The Curse of Jack Frost, and I was playing Jack Frost. And I remember every night pictures of Winnie-the-Pooh set coming over to us, and Scott was sending to Reese pictures of our set over to you guys. But
Really?
yeah, I remember that. But yeah, Winnie-the-Pooh, that just went massive, didn't it? Um, yeah, it's been an amazing journey for them, and they've had a lot of success with it, no doubt about it.
Mm. And just kind of working, having worked in an acting capacity with, with Scott and Reese, does that then kind of help you as first-time directors and seeing, because they, those films, especially the first few, were super low budget, super independent. I mean, I think, Croc was like what made like in a weekend or something ridiculous. It must kind of help you guys as first-time directors kind of have some sort of blueprint of how you can do this, on a shoestring.
Yes, that's definite. So Croc, that was it was probably 6 or 7 days. I can't remember, but I do remember having a lot of fun on that one. Um, but yeah, there is a way you can do it. I think the biggest challenge is you come up with some good ideas. This is what I
Mm.
found anyway. And then we're constantly saying, "Oh, we can't do that. We haven't got the budget. Or we can't do that. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that." And literally at the end of it, and when we finished the movie, we were like, "Do you know what? If we just had more money, we could have made it way better." And that was the biggest learning curve for me that I had because obviously it's my first movie. And now I understand the struggles the producers have, with a low budget. Like it clearly is within your grasp to make it better with more money. Now, the real challenge is, I guess, you could argue you could still make it better on the budget you've got, and I'm sure you could, but I think with more experience, me and Tasha will get better and be able to get even more out of the money we've got, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like every time, well, not every time, but a lot of the times when me and Steve are making decisions, we like channel that inner Scott, and we're like, what would Scott do? Scott would have just done that, and then we're like, yeah, do it then. Like because obviously we're really good friends with Scott. Anytime there's like a hard decision to be made, there's a lot of times, any day of the week we're making decisions, like the way Scott would handle it is like in our minds, and we're like, okay, yeah, Scott would have done it like that. So we'll like, that's a good idea. Like we just, I guess them guys have so much experience, and obviously they have loads of success, which they obviously deserve. So we know that it works. And we're kind of like, every time something happens and we're like, we don't really know how to handle this, or like, how do we go about this? We kind of channel Scott and we're like, okay, we know what we're doing.
And also, I think, a lot of the cast of Haunting of Jack the Ripper's house, comes from some of your previous work. I know that there's a few Cinderella's Curse ladies on board. What was it like getting to kind of work with your friends? Because I guess again, as actors, you kind of know the kind of roles and things that, people are desperate to get a chance to play.
Well, you had Kelly in mind from the start, didn't you, Tash?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and obviously we know Danielle well, and we knew that Danielle would do the part really well. Um, but yeah, some of the other guys were new, actually, weren't they? Like some of the other people we'd never worked with before, and that was a good experience for you, really, wasn't it? Because you did most of the casting for it.
yeah.
Well, we talked most nights about obviously, the auditions and stuff. But yeah, that was it. That was an interesting part of it for me. But yeah, we did. Well, I know you wanted to especially work with Kelly, didn't you? On
Yeah.
this.
Kelly is like one of my best friends in the entire universe. Like Kelly and Steve probably are my best friends in the entire world. Steve will never say we're best friends. He'll just say we're friends, but I know I'm his best friend. So, and it's like, Steve and Kelly are like my best friends in the entire world. So it's like, it was the best experience of my entire life working with Steve and Kelly at the same time. Because we were all sharing a room together as well. So it was like every day, every minute of every day was just fun. No matter what happened, it was like, it was literally like going on holiday with your friends. That's what it felt like. And it was just fun all day long. So
You
yeah,
didn't want to
it
leave,
was
did
like the
you?
best experience.
You didn't want to leave at the end, did you?
No, at the end, literally, we wrapped. I got in my car, drove for about a minute, and was like, I'm gonna cry. And then I rang Steve, and we were on the phone whilst driving away from each other. And I was like, Steve, I'm gonna cry. I don't want to go. What do we do? I can't believe it's over, wasn't it? Like, I was such a mess because it was like, I couldn't believe that this amazing time we'd had is like over. Obviously, now, like, I know now it's fine, but at the time I was like, no, like I can't. I was really struggling to like let it go, I think.
Now obviously you get to have the party, so you get to bring everybody together again and have the party. And I guess sort of, my final question to you both as Fright Festers, as people that have been to Fright Fest before, that they're kind of working out what they're going to watch when. Why do you each hope that they take a chance on your film?
I would say probably from my point of view, it's a bit of fun. It's not to ta be taken too seriously, but it's a good journey. Um, yeah, it's something we really enjoyed making, and we enjoyed watching. We haven't got a clue, to be honest, what people are going to think about it. Do we really? We like it. We're happy with what we've done with it. We think it's certainly worth watching. But what do you think, Tash?
Yeah. I'm scared. I'm like so nervous. It's a joke. I was nervous, like when we were like going through the edits of it and stuff, I would put it on the TV to watch it and then make notes. And I was nervous doing that because my mum was in the room and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna see this. And I would be like so nervous because I was like, oh my God, what if she hates it? What if she thinks it's crap? And it's my mum. So the fact that it's gonna be in a cinema and people are gonna see it and I'm going to be there and I'm going to overhear them if they don't like it. It's terrifying. But yeah, honestly, I think people should take a chance to watch it because I think it is like amazing. And like Steve said, it is a bit of fun. Like it's about Jack the Ripper, and that's exciting. And we did use all there's a bit where we explain about Jack the Ripper and stuff, and we use all true facts that have recently been found out about Jack the Ripper. So yeah, it's a bit of a history lesson as well. So you can come along for the history lesson. But yeah, I hope people come along and take a chance. And if they don't like it, then they tried. But I genuinely do believe people will like it, especially for what it is. Like the budget was basically non-existent and we put everything we could into it and we tried our best. So yeah, I just want people to see it. But I'm also scared.
Nice. Well, thank you guys so much for your time and best of luck with the screening.